If you really want to understand the story of our planet right now, in the 21st century, you don't look at maps of countries anymore. Nope, you look at maps of cities. The story of humanity has become an urban story. And, as we're about to see, it's a tale of two very, very different worlds.
And here's the number that changes absolutely everything. For the first time ever in human history, the scales have officially tipped. More than half of all people on Earth now live in a city. And that's not just some dry statistic. It's a total reshaping of how we live, how we work, and how we connect with each other.
So what's the engine driving this huge shift? It's a process called urbanization. And all it really means is that more and more of us are moving into urban areas. But, and this is the key thing, this process looks completely different depending on where you are in the world.
All right, so here's our game plan for this explainer. We'll start by welcoming you to this new urban age. Then, we'll dive into our tale of two very different cities. We're going to look at their histories, unpack the challenges they're facing right now, and finally, check out how they're trying to build a better future.
Okay, let's kick off our tale of two cities. We're going to zoom in on two port cities that might seem kind of similar on the surface, but trust me, they represent the two opposite ends of the urbanization story, and their journeys tell us so much about the forces that are shaping our entire world.
And this slide just lays it all out, doesn't it? The contrast is just wow. On one side, you've got Portsmouth in the UK, a city of about 250,000 people, in a developed country, trying to figure out what to do after its main industry disappeared. And on the other side, Mumbai, India, a mega city of 21 million people in an emerging economy just trying to cope with absolutely explosive growth.
So, to really get what's happening in these cities today, we have to rewind a bit. We've got to look at the different paths that brought them to this point. Let's start with the journey of Portsmouth.
Back in the early 20th century, Portsmouth was an absolute giant. It was the largest naval port in the entire world. Shipbuilding was its heart and soul. But then, look what happens after the 1950s. The industry just falls off a cliff. The number of jobs plummets. The city basically had to find a whole new identity, shifting from building battleships to attracting tourists and landing high-tech defense contracts. It's a classic story of post-industrial change.
And there's a name for what happened to Portsmouth. It's called deindustrialization. As the world changed, those old industries just vanished. And the really important thing to understand is that this process left behind two major problems: mass unemployment and huge, abandoned, often polluted industrial areas that we call brownfield sites.
Okay, now let's just do a complete 180 and jump over to Mumbai. Because while Portsmouth was dealing with decline, Mumbai was experiencing the exact opposite. Its story isn't one of reinvention, it's a story of a population explosion that is honestly hard to even get your head around. And as you can see, it's not slowing down anytime soon.
So what is fueling this incredible growth? Well, it's mainly two things. First, you have rural-urban migration. Millions upon millions of people moving from the countryside looking for a job, any job. And second, you have what's called natural increase, which just means the birth rate is higher than the death rate. The result of this perfect storm is staggering. Half of the city, that's over 10 million people, now live in informal slum settlements.
Okay, so that's the history. But that brings us to the present day. What is it actually like for the people living through all of this change on the ground?
So in Portsmouth, the picture is, well, it's complicated. It's a real mixed bag. On the one hand, you've got real opportunities. Most people are working. The city has a great cultural scene. It's becoming more diverse. But if you scratch the surface, you find these deep-seated challenges. An aging population is straining the healthcare system. And there are these shocking inequalities where the neighborhood you're born in can literally determine how long you're going to live.
Now, let's turn to Dharavi, Mumbai's biggest slum. This place just completely defies easy labels. It's a place with an incredible, powerful sense of community and a really high literacy rate. But at the same time, the challenges are just immense. Can you imagine 500 people having to share a single toilet? Those conditions lead to about 4,000 cases of disease from dirty water every single day. And maybe the biggest thing of all, people live with the constant fear that they could be kicked out at any moment because they have no legal right to the land their homes are on.
Economically, you might be surprised to hear that Dharavi is an absolute powerhouse. This so-called slum has thousands of little businesses that generate over $1 billion a year. It's a major hub of employment, and it's home to a recycling industry that processes most of the waste from the entire city of Mumbai. But here's the catch. It's all part of the informal economy.
That means no job security, no benefits, incredibly low pay, like £1 a day, and tragically, it often means kids have to work instead of going to school. It's this wild paradox of amazing productivity and extreme vulnerability all at the same time. All right, so with these huge and hugely different sets of problems, what's the plan? What are leaders and communities actually trying to do to shape the future of these two very different cities? Let's dig into the solutions, because this is where we see two completely different ideas about how you go about rebuilding a city.
Portsmouth's strategy is what you'd call top-down. Think big government, big corporations, and big money. They took one of those old, derelict brownfield sites and turned it into Gun Wharf Quays, a massive shopping and entertainment complex. They spent millions on a park and ride scheme to cut down on traffic. The whole idea is to use these huge, centrally planned projects to give the economy a shot in the arm.
In Mumbai, though, it's a completely different story. It's a fight. There's a fierce debate going on. On one side, you have Vision Mumbai, a classic top-down plan. The idea? Demolish slums like Dharavi and build a shiny $2 billion business park. On the other side, you have bottom-up approaches, like giving small grants to local people so they can improve their own homes and sanitation. The conflict couldn't be clearer. One plan is huge and decisive, but it could end up pushing out the poor to make way for the rich. The other empowers local people, but it's just too small scale to solve the city's massive problems all by itself.
And this quote just nails it, doesn't it? Portsmouth is busy rebuilding its past. Mumbai is trying to build its future at a speed that is just mind-boggling. But when you boil it all down, the most important question for both of them is exactly the same. Who actually benefits from all this change?
So, what's the big lesson here? What do we take away from this tale of two cities? It's that there's no magic, one-size-fits-all solution for urban problems. The kind of big, top-down project that might work for a post-industrial city like Portsmouth could be an absolute disaster in a place like Mumbai. A city's problems and its potential solutions are completely wrapped up in its own unique history and its own unique story.
And that leaves us with one final and really critical question to think about. As our entire world keeps moving into cities, the challenge for all of us is to figure out how we manage that change. How do we make sure we're building cities that are inclusive communities for everyone, not just profitable real estate for investors? How do we build cities that aren't just bigger, but actually better?